Welcome back, friend, to your recaps. The movie opens with Becky and her husband, Dan, climbing on a steep cliff. The couple recently got married and share this same hobby of rock climbing. Apparently, the two spend their activities with Becky's best friend, Hunter, who has the same hobby as them. It can be seen that the three of them are adrenaline junkies. On their way to the top, Dan is startled by a bird that suddenly flies out of a hole. Because of that, he releases his grip and just hangs on his safety harness. Becky and Hunter attempt to find a way to help him, but his harness cannot hold him long enough. Because they cannot help him in time, Dan eventually falls to his death. 51 weeks later, Becky is still drowning in grief over her husband's death. Due to her depression, Becky becomes an alcoholic and no longer cares about her life. She even calls Dan's phone just to hear his voicemail. Not only that, she has also distanced herself from her father, James, who says that Dan was not as good as she thinks. James only wants his daughter to live a normal life again, but Becky still does not heed his words. Just before she attempts suicide, Hunter suddenly comes to her home to comfort her. Hunter invites Becky to climb a 2,000-foot TV tower in the desert, but she initially refuses because she has not climbed a single one since Dan's death. Hunter also suggests to her that she can scatter Dan's ashes from the top of the tower to let him go forever. The next morning, Becky eventually changes her mind after reminding herself of Dan's words not to live in fear. On the middle of their way, the two stop at a diner where Becky learns that Hunter is now working as a host of an online show. They ask a waitress there if she knows where the TV tower is located. The waitress points to a nearby red dot in the sky, saying it is the TV tower, which emits a red light at night to keep planes from crashing into it. Hunter then tells Becky how to charge her phone for free. Hunter then shows her a makeshift charger that will allow her to charge her phone anywhere, as long as she plugs it to the power source. After that, the two head to a motel nearby to rest. The next day, Becky is awakened by Hunter, who is ready to proceed their way to the tower. While Hunter is driving and live streaming at the same time, their car is nearly hit by a truck. As a result, Hunter quickly ends her live stream and drives the car properly towards the tower. As they get closer to the tower, they see a locked fence and a sign that says, "No trespassing." Therefore, they park the car nearby and climb over the fence. As they walk towards the tower, the two encounter a pair of vultures eating a dying goat. Seeing this, they scare the vultures away, while Hunter innocently takes a picture of the dying goat and posts it on the social media. Soon, both of them finally arrive at the tower and seem to be fascinated by its height. Before climbing up the tower, Hunter records another content for her online show. At that point, Becky suddenly becomes petrified after remembering her past, but Hunter reassures her that everything will be fine. The two of them start climbing the tower slowly. However, they do not know that the tower is already unstable because it has been abandoned for a long time. Hunter climbs the tower first, followed by Becky, who accidentally breaks a piece of the rusty ladder. Seeing that, Hunter continues to motivate her to climb up. Long story short, they finally reach the first ledge after climbing the internal ladder. They slowly climb the external ladder while Hunter is constantly motivating Becky to climb up. In the midst of Becky's fright, Hunter begins to make fun of her by shaking the ladder, causing a bolt on the ladder to come loose. The duo finally makes it to the top of the tower after reaching another ledge. Hunter immediately takes out her drone and records the surrounding view for her content. She even hangs herself off the ledge and asks Becky to take a picture of her. After successfully performing her reckless action, Hunter asks Becky to do the same. Although she hesitates at first, Becky eventually agrees and hangs off the ledge while holding Hunter's hand. Afterwards, Becky takes out Dan's ashes from her backpack and spreads it to the wind, while the two share a heartfelt moment reminiscing about Dan. Sometime later, they pack up their belongings and put on their safety harnesses before heading back down. Becky goes first this time, but the old ladder suddenly breaks, suspending Becky in the air. Hunter quickly circles the small pole to gain some leverage and eventually manages to pull Becky back up. The two laugh in relief, but they just realize that the ladder they used earlier is now gone. Before they can climb down, they check their phones for help, but there is no signal up there. Luckily, they discover a small emergency box at the bottom of the pole and find a flare gun along with the binoculars inside. Becky then realizes that her backpack, filled with their water and drone, is now stuck on a satellite dish below them. Besides that, she also notices that there is a wound on her leg. Becky starts to panic, but Hunter assures her that someone will rescue them, as the loud banging caused by the falling ladder should have drawn some attention. A few hours later, they start vlogging to kill their time. Hunter ends up telling the reason she started vlogging was because of Dan's death. She then checks their surroundings using the binoculars and discovers an RV parked not far from the tower. Hunter says that they might get a signal down there, so she makes a post asking her followers for help before lowering her phone using a rope. However, they do not hear any notification sound, indicating it has not been posted. Hence, an insane Hunter decides to hang herself on the remaining ladder, but they cannot hear anything either. After that, she comes up with another idea to throw her phone off the tower. To keep it from breaking, they tuck it inside Hunter's shoe and covers it with socks and a push-up bra before dropping it below. Becky then notices a tattoo on Hunter's feet, but at the same time, Hunter spots a man and his dog standing near the tower. The two of them keep screaming for help until Becky throws her pair of shoes down, hoping the man will notice them. Unfortunately, he does not notice them at all and starts walking away. Later, Becky looks through her phone and watches an old video. In the video, she notices that Hunter was looking at her and Dan jealously at their wedding. Just then, Hunter asks her to shoot the flare, and the two men in the RV notice them stranded on the tower. They drive the RV close to the locked fence, right where Hunter's car is parked. However, the men decide to steal their car instead of helping the girl. Therefore, the two are forced to sleep up on the tower that night. After Becky confronts her about the tattoo, Hunter tearfully admits to having had an affair with Dan. However, she decided to end the affair before Dan married Becky because she cherished her friendship with Becky more. This also contributed to distancing herself from Becky after Dan's death. Shortly after, they realized that Hunter's phone was actually broken, as no one has come to save them so far. At that time, they are struggling with dehydration and starvation. Since they have no other choices, Hunter decides to descend to reach Becky's backpack. Unfortunately, the rope is too short for her to reach it, so she unhooks herself from the rope and jumps on the satellite dish. After successfully retrieving it, Hunter sees that the rope is out of her reach. She then takes a selfie stick from the backpack and uses it to hook the backpack on the rope before doing a dangerous jump on it. When Hunter is about to reach the ledge, she suddenly slips and falls down. As Becky looks down, she finds Hunter still hanging on the rope. However, her hands are now injured, so Becky has to use all her strength to pull her friend up. Afterwards, they write a message asking for help and try to use the drone to send it to their motel. Unluckily, the drone runs out battery, forcing them to send it back to the tower. The following morning, Becky climbs up the pole and charges the drone using Hunter's makeshift charger. At one point, a vulture suddenly bothers her because of her wound, causing her to drop her backpack down. Becky clings close to the pole and manages to keep the drone safe. After successfully charging it, she slides down and waits for the right time to send the drone. Towards evening, they try to use the drone once again to send the message to the diner. Sadly, the drone is later destroyed by a passing mining truck just before arriving at the motel. The two of them become desperate and can only wait for help day by day, until Becky says that she cannot hold on any longer. However, Hunter keeps reminding her to stay strong. When Becky asks Hunter for her other shoe as a last-ditch attempt to send the message, Becky finally realizes that she has been hallucinating all this time. It turns out that Hunter was never up there, and that she has actually died after she fell from her harness. Hunter instead landed on the satellite dish below and bled out, and her body is now being eaten by a vulture. It is also revealed that a grieving Becky had only managed to pull the bag up, and her hallucinations were caused by the lack of food and water. After realizing all this, a depressed Becky bursts into tears as a harsh wind blows around her. She then remembers her father's great love for her and records a goodbye message, thinking that she would not survive the day. Meanwhile, James is also worried about his daughter and is trying to find her whereabouts. Apparently, Becky survives until the following morning and hopelessly sits leaning on the pole while a vulture is trying to attack her. With the last of her strength, she kills the vulture by banging its head against the ledge. Afterwards, she eats the vulture for sustenance and realizes there is still hope to live. Becky finally makes one last attempt to survive by climbing down to Hunter's body. She sends a message to her father, noting her whereabouts, before stuffing her phone inside Hunter's body for protection. She ends up throwing the body off the tower so the phone can receive a signal at lower altitude after falling on the ground. Not long after, James rushes to the location of the tower and sees many officers and medics around the tower. When he thinks his daughter has died, Becky suddenly calls for him and immediately hugs him, and the two finally reconcile. Please, if you like my content, support me with a like and subscribe to the channel. Have a nice day, friends.